And welcome to today's Parcelcube webinar. I'm Härkonen, the Managing Director of Parcelcube, and with me I have the CTO and co-founder of Parcelcube, Mr. Leif Gripner. I will say a few words about Parcelcube, and then Leif will discuss with you outbound logistics costs and how to reduce them. And the company Parcelcube was, actually the company name is Dimway, officially was founded in 2015 by Leif and another entrepreneur. We design, manufacture static dimensioning systems or multiple dimensioning measuring systems, as someone called them nowadays. We are based and manufactured in Finland, and during our first 9 years, we have shipped to over 40 countries these products. So we consider ourselves quite international. About us and our products, we have designed everything to be reliable, easy and simple to deal with, having zero maintenance, to be cost effective, and we are a small, nimble company, so we can adjust to special requirements when needed. So we try to be as our products are ourselves also. We can return to details about the company and so on in Q&A after the main topic of this webinar, which is the controlling the cost of your outbound logistics. So now I'd like to hand over to Mr. Leif Gripner, please.
Thank you, Christer. Yes, hello. My name is Leif Gripner, and I'm the CTO at Parcelcube. And today's webinar, we will discuss how to cut your costs, how to be more cost efficient, primarily when you are shipping outbound parcel, but also we will touch on how to build master data and manage your warehouse to have a bit more compact usage of the warehouse. So mainly the main application of the Parcelcube when it was being developed was to save on shipping cost. During that time, a lot of shipping companies wanted to cancel the flat rate, which meant any shipper needs to address this and have their parcels measured and weighed and inputted when they book shipments. This was, of course, done manually and was quite labor intensive and not that efficient. So then we turn to MDMD devices, which stands for multi-dimension measuring devices, which Parcelcube is one kind of these devices. That's the short introduction, what it is, and to help you all understand how it improves your costs or the saving in shipping. It's basically done via 4 steps. There's more steps, but you can categorize them as 4 steps. When you need help to calculate the shipping costs ahead of actually asking whatever company you're using for your shipping, your DHL or TNT or what you're using, you can do it in-house by having the data. You can also keep track on if you are paying for the dimensional weight, which means you're paying for the size of the parcel, or if you are paying for the actual weight. Here is the biggest cost saving part. The biggest error you have when you ship parcels when it comes to an overhead in your cost is that you are basically shipping air. You are packing too little items or too light items in too big boxes. And with a machine like Parcelcube, you can easily see if you have done that. You get a warning that says that this parcels will be billed by the dimensional weight or dim weight that you have set up the system to use. And then you quite quickly, as an operator, as the staff that use the machine, they kind of get used to getting a feel for it, like, okay, this kind of boxes we need to fill up to 1, 2, or 3 kilos, and this kind of boxes we need to fill up to about this weight. And of course, they always have the feedback from the system, from the Parcelcube system. And you will also, of course, have the full dimension and weight being automatically sent to the booking system if you so choose to have it. So you don't need to measure by hand and put it into the booking system. All of this is done by hand, automatically, instead of doing it by hand. That's kind of the shipping part. You can also do quite a lot of savings on optimizing the storage in your warehouse, simply by also measuring all your inbound items or all your items you already have in the warehouse. Make sure that the data you have, which sometimes comes from the supplier of the items, and they are not always correct, quite often incorrect, mainly because they change the packaging and so on. So if you measure all this data with a Parcelcube, you will have the actual dimension, you will have the actual weight, and you can input this in your WMS system, which then, of course, will give you much better possibilities to arrange your warehouse. So you have the right amount of items taking up the right amount of space. And if you have really fancy systems that actually calculate which boxes to use, when you get an order that you have to ship and you have to put 5-6 items or something like that in that order, if you have a correct data, if you have the correct sizes of all the parts that are going inside there, the system can basically calculate for you which box is the most usable box for this order to pack it in. And of course, this will help you save time. You don't need to select the box, and maybe the selection of the box was incorrect, and then you change the box and you repack it. And it's, of course, that's going to take time for the people that are doing the shipping. So this is some step that can be automatic. When you work with this, with our Parcelcube machines, we have basically 3 devices at the current offering. We have the oldest device and the device we have for sure delivered most units of worldwide. As Krista mentioned earlier, there's basically 40 countries where they are running in now. And that's the Parcelcube 900. It's a device that is used for inbound and outbound. It's used for boxed items. It's very easy to use. That's the main focus of that device. It's supposed to be reliable and easy to use. It does boxed items inbound and outbound. It can be set up to measure the size and weight of your outgoing parcel and transfer that data to the shipping company when you do the booking, and also give you a visual indication if the packing you have done, if it's good or bad. Are you going to pay for shipping air, or are you going to pay for what you're actually shipping? And then we have a Parcelcube 1000, which is a little bit bigger device than the Parcelcube 900. It uses a new technology, lasers, which gives it a little bit higher performance and tolerances. It's also made for boxed items. And then we have a third item, a Vision, a 3D camera-based unit, which is more of a measuring device, a tool than a simple device. So it's a bit more advanced to use, but you can measure more items, which is very good if you are going to build your master data, which you can use at later stages when you do automatic packing or when you do validation of your suppliers' data. So the biggest cost savings when it comes to outbound shipping items is not shipping air. A couple of years ago, we did some rough estimate from customers' data, and around 70 to 80% of all the outgoing parcels were paying for air. They were paying for the size of the package instead of the weight, which of course no one is interested in doing, especially if you are sitting with a flat rate towards your customer, so they have a fixed shipping price. Then you are very likely to want to keep your shipping cost down, because then you will all of a sudden earn money on shipping instead of losing a tiny bit of money on shipping. And also optimizing package. If it's because you want to package in on pallets, for example, you don't want to have boxes that goes on the pallet that are not filled up good enough, because then the big pallet that has a fixed price will be shipping too few items, basically. The second way to save costs when it comes to shipping is the speed. Measuring by hand takes time, of course. It's a person that has to measure 3 dimensions, the length, the width, and the height, and they have to measure the weight, and they have to take this measurement and put in to the system they use to book parcels, or in their WMS system that makes a booking in another system. Either way, it takes time. If you use a Parcelcube unit, it takes less than a second to do like this. You place the parcel and you press a button and it's done. Nothing more. And also, when it comes to errors, user errors, maybe if the user input an error that is quite small, 5 millimeter or centimeter on the dimension, it really doesn't matter. But it's more likely that a user that puts in this dimensional and weight, if they make an error, they make a big error. Instead of writing 20 centimeter, they miss and they write 29 centimeter, because 9 is close to 0, and then all of a sudden, then you have an extra cost. And even worse, if you undersell the size you're shipping, like for example, you're supposed to ship something that is 29 centimeters, but you write 20 by mistake, of course, you will have to pay a fine sometimes from DHL or TNT or whoever you are using. They will just fine you for having to recalculate your prices that they are supposed to get from you, from your data. So reducing that kind of errors are very, very important. Reducing the errors you have that are very, very small, half a centimeter, centimeters, that are not that expensive, but the type of errors that you have when you are doing manual input is very, very important to reduce, to keep your costs down. And of course, if you can prove to your supplier, your shipping supplier, if it's TNT or DHL or UPS or whatever, that you have a very good control of this, you are quite likely to have better deals with them. You can get better deals with them, because they know that you will supply data that is good, which means they don't have to check your data afterwards, which will make them a lot more happy to oblige to a better contract with you. And when it comes to maybe not shipping items, but when it comes to space utilization, when we're talking master data in your warehouse, of course, the more correct you measure your items that you stock in your warehouse, the better you can utilize the space in the warehouse. No one is getting rich from having a warehouse where half of the shelves are half full, because the items that you place in one shelf is basically half the size that you thought it was, because your master data is incorrect. So if you have the master data incorrect, you can use the space in your warehouse a lot better. And same when it comes to picking and packing. When you dispatch an order to pick up items, if your master data is incorrect, maybe you send a forklift to pick up items which you should have sent to be picked up with a trolley or someone that is walking. And of course, it's way more expensive to have a forklift running around with small parcels that should have been picked up by hand or picked up by a trolley instead. So again, Master data is important, and the only way to have the master data correct is to measure your own items you stock, because the data from the manufacturer is very often incorrect, and it's very, very often changing, and they are not going to tell you when they change their packaging. And we do have some real world example we would like to take with you. We have one when it comes to shipping, the shipping cost saving for shipping, and we actually choose to use ourselves because we have the most data there. We have data on other case studies, but our is very, very detailed because it's our own. So we had a very big opportunity to make a very good one. And historically, before we started to measure our parcels, because we were running on a flat rate for shipping, when that one was removed, we started to measure, and our parcel that was outbound, that was shipped to customer, if it was spare parts or it was whole Parcelcube systems, in 90% of them, we were shipping air. We were paying for the size of the package instead of the weight, which is, of course, not good for shipping costs. After measuring basically everything we sent out, even when it was really small stuff where we felt that this shipping cost is not really that interesting to us, we still did it to be able to build the data, to have the data, so we know how much customer would be able to send, which and save. We managed to get down from 90% to 40%. The reason why we couldn't get down even further than 40% was when we shipped the big Parcelcube devices, they are shipped on pallets, so there's always going to be very, very big parcels that are not going to be that heavy. But if you look at the pure box parcels, we were down to almost 20% being shipped, where we paid for the dimensional weight instead of the actual weight. So it works really, really good. After a while, also the staff learned. They get a feeling for this. They made the same mistake, or they used the same too big box a certain amount of time. Then they kind of learned that, okay, this kind of item goes in this box, and they didn't really have to think about it. So it was all of a sudden also faster for them to pack, because they had an extra input now, which they didn't have before, so they never even thought about it. When it comes to cost savings by owning your master data, we have a case study from KPG Wholesales in Estonia, who were facing the issue with their warehouse was not big enough, basically. And everyone knows that building a new warehouse is not something you do lightly. You will look for a lot of solutions before you take that step. So basically, we went out to them with a couple of Parcelcubes, and they started to trying the system, and they started to gather master data for all their inventory. And after a few months of using it, they kind of noticed that the volume of all the items that they stock should easily fit in the warehouse they have. When they just had all the data and they realized that it should be about this in total volumetric size, why can't we fit it in this warehouse? And then they started to realize, okay, we need to measure all the data to see that it's actually correct. And when they ran a few more months, they realized that it was quite incorrect. And now when they had all the data correct, or most of the data correct, it was quite easy for them to basically rearrange. They could easily see that the aisles and the shelves that are storing this and this items, they cannot only store 40, they can actually store 80, because the parcels are just half the size of what we thought they were. But now we know the actual size, so they could rearrange their warehouse, and they actually got quite a lot of spare space without having to buy a new warehouse or use a third-party warehouse or something like this. And also, they could start to implement box selection, automatic box selection, when they had the master data more correctly. When they dispatched an order, it could also be indicated by the order system that this or this box should be used as outer box for these items to go inside, which of course saved a lot of time for the personnel that did the packing and the shipping, because if you pack something in a box and it doesn't fit, then you have to restart, and you have to get another box that is a little bit bigger, and then you have to repacking it. So there's a big cost saving on that moment as well. That's everything we have for now. We do have a quick implementation tips, and that's how to choose the device. You should consider 3 parts when you choose the device. The type of packages you are working with. Are you a wholesale company that sells items that are sold in warehouses? Then perhaps you need a vision system that can handle plastic wrapped items, items that are meant to be hanged on hooks in the store and stuff, like weird non-boxed items. If you're a company that has mostly boxed item because you maybe are a distributor, for example, and only sell like boxed item, and inside the box you maybe have the items that goes to the store later, but you are only shipping the box, you're holding the boxes, then perhaps a 900 or 1000 unit would be a better item. And then you also have return on investment to think about. The different Parcelcube products comes with a different product cost, of course. Maybe you should go for the cheaper one. Maybe you have so much special items, you go for the more expensive one because it can cover a wider range you want to do. Perhaps you're a really, really big warehouse, and then you most likely would like to have one of each model because you have so many different parcels that you want to measure. And also, integration is very important. Think about that from start when you're buying a device like this. The Parcelcube software is very, very easy to integrate. It's generally a couple of hours to integrate it in a modern WMS system. It's extremely simple to do, and we have programming examples in the manual, and we of course are always helping. And the software is always included when you buy a product. There's no extra license fees. So in a conclusion, measure your items. If you want to ship them, measure them so you actually pay for what you're shipping, so you don't pay for shipping here. If you want to optimize your warehouse, build your master data. Do not take the master data values from your supplier or use some old master data because it's incorrect. Measure and you have the correct, and you will have a warehouse that runs much smoother and can fit more items, and you have a shipping department that can ship a lot cheaper. Now we will open for questions.
Yes. Thank you, Leif. Please, everyone, I think the way to ask questions is to write in the comment box you have on your LinkedIn page. We were a little bit surprised by the way it works, but this is first time using this platform. So please, any questions, and we try to answer as well as we can. I actually expected that one could ask by talking, but obviously we can't do that. And so far I haven't seen any questions in the shout box either. Questions can always be asked afterwards in LinkedIn directly from us or from Leif and or me on our personal accounts, of course, there as well.
Yes, we have the contact information on parcelcube.com, of course. So please email any question you have. If you're trying to ask some question here and you can't write in the chat or for any reason, just email us and we will get back to you.
Well, thank you everyone. I have not seen any questions yet in the commentary box, so I want to thank you and thank you, Leif, for the presentation. Hope to see you again someday. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you all. Bye.